Welcome to the Reboot Chronicles, connecting you to the world's top leaders and CEOs rebooting their organizations and themselves with revealing stories to help you prosper in unprecedented times. I'm your host, Dean DeBias, and as a serial CEO who's led dozens of companies that created thousands of jobs and billions in revenue, my passion is uncovering powerful lessons that can inspire you to reboot your organization, your career, and your life. Listen and subscribe wherever you get podcasts or at rebootchronicles.com. I'd like to welcome Chairman and CEO of Automation Anywhere, Mihir Shukla, to the Reboot Chronicles. Mihir started the company with a mission to unleash human potential by helping organizations transform their business with smarter process automation. We'll get into that. A Silicon Valley veteran, Mihir is a leading pioneer of the digital workforce who has brought AI agents to the forefront of automating complex and repetitive tasks that ultimately free some of us to do higher value work. Lord knows I need that myself. After raising nearly $1 billion, close to, they have become a leader in Agentic Process Automation, which we'll get into, with some of the world's largest companies running hundreds of millions of AI agents on their platforms, with an incredible market momentum behind them now, and a vision to fuel the future of work by unleashing human potential. They are headed toward being a mega multi-billion-dollar company soon. Mihir, good to see you.
Great to see you. Great to be here, Dean.
Yeah, it's good to catch up again. I'm so impressed. Been following your company for a while, and like me, you're a Silicon Valley pioneer, which means we go way back. You go back to the InfoSeek and Netscape days, and you could have done anything as your next gig and your next platform. Why this?
Yeah, it's a great question. I had 5 multi-billion-dollar journeys. You mentioned Netscape, InfoSeek, and few others.
Many others.
What
Yes.
that taught me is how if you have a great product and a great execution, how easy it was to create an impact in people's life and make a difference. And so when an opportunity came to start this one, I was thinking what is the best way to do that. And I went back to my roots of how I grew up. I grew up in a small town in India, hadn't seen a computer until I was ready to go to the college. And I was reflecting on my life, and computers made such a huge difference in my life, and very grateful for it. And so I thought, what could I create that could benefit the next generation in leading the next revolution like a computer? So Automation Anywhere was born with a vision to transform how we work. We weren't put on this planet to, copy paste from one screen to another. A huge believer in human potential, and so decided to invent series of technology. And uh, what computers did to me, wanted to set up a next platform that enables people to do more with less.
I love that. The copy paste comment. A lot of CEOs, they are rinse and repeat guys. So you could have just started another browser company after the 10th one, and you didn't. Similar to me, I've always jumped into the next industry, which it's not for the faint of heart. I like companies that create new categories altogether. I did it with cable modems, one of the first online games companies after that. And your early days where you were really about robotics automation, and you must have pivoted many times. We call them reboots, but I'd just love to hear about the journey as you kind of like. It seems like you seized the day on AI way before everyone else did. And how did you get to where you are? How many pivots have we been through? What's that been like?
The good part is that the mission statement remained the same, which is to fuel the future of work by unleashing human potential.
That's
so
rare.
Along comes the technologies, and eventually technologies catch up to your vision, and you end up doing better and better. So we started by creating a robotic process automation category, and thus making automation accessible to everybody. Then maybe about 10 years ago, we did meaningful amount of AI investments. And this is, the prior wave of AI with machine learning and so forth, ML algorithms and stuff. Yep. And about days. 3 years ago was another reboot, and maybe I'll double click on that one. We were reimagining where does the world go from here. And So we wrote a manifesto of a kind and say, if we were to describe what a future looks like, what does it look like, and how far it is, and when can we get there? So we took a long term approach of where we what we are up to, what the direction looks like. So then we took an example of a science fiction movies, because we see this often and we know what a future of work looks like. If you look at in Star Trek or any other movies where, let's say, captain says computer reconfigure deflector shield and something else, you don't see developer coming to a captain and say, captain, what you just said takes 6 months to code.
or it's
IT
or it's the wrong prompt.
or the wrong problem. IT doesn't come and say that provisioning, and it doesn't happen. Instead, what happens is your verbal commands are dynamically converted into the workflow
Yeah.
across application, and they're so trusted they're executed right away. Right. In fact, that way of working is so entertaining that we watch it. Nobody would watch us working today because
No.
it's not fun. Yeah. So we said, look, this is simple. In a way, we articulated and said, look, this is what a future looks like. And then we set out to achieve that future 3 years ago, and we thought, who knows how long it takes, right? You have to get started and stay on course. And just a month ago, we announced that we have achieved a milestone that we set out to be, and happy to share more. But that was a big reboot for us to kind of reimagine how and then set out to achieve it.
Yeah, and there's such an AI arms race going on. Our regular listeners probably think we cover it way too much, and most of the big dog CEOs, multi-billion-dollar companies are. A lot of them are in a frenzy trying to catch up. Many of them are your customers, quite frankly.
Yeah.
And so, what's going on with that? I mean, I can see how you're staying ahead of it because you have to. You're the arms dealer. But how are you helping these clients? What are some of your big wins in these verticals? What's yeah, you hear a lot of stories, but you don't see a lot of rubber meeting the road. So, what are you most excited about that's been
Yeah.
fixed so far? I guess.
Way I think of it in the AI space is that there is so much action in last 2 years in the infrastructure space,
Mm.
whether it is the LLMs and NVIDIA chips, and this is typical to any category. If you think of internet, AOL used to be big
Yeah,
because it
we
always
started out
starts.
in what do we call it back then? The plumbing phase. Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So that's the last 2 years. I think beginning this year, people are going to the next level, which is the AI agents and how work happens and what the future of work is. Now, for your listeners, I like to not all AI agents are created equal. So I'll divide them into three category, and I'll highlight where do we play. So the first category of AI agents are personal productivity AI agents. They are great to use. They summarize emails and content and so forth. But I think most people agree that it's not as transformative as we thought of them, just a year ago. The second set of AI agents are captive AI agents. They are specific to specific platform, whether you have a CRM or ERP or whatever platform you have. Everybody is making AI agents for their platform, and that's great. But it's for that silo, for the
Right.
whatever silo that is in. The third category, which I think is the most impactful and most transformative, which is your ability to run AI agents across all of these applications and orchestrate work like never before. And the opportunity here is to break silos. We have operated in these silos for too long, and our IT budgets and business units, everything is by silo. And we know that hasn't worked for a long time. Here comes AI giving us an opportunity to orchestrate it across, run as many things as autonomously possible, assisted where required, and manual as a last resort, and reimagining how work happens. And to your question about the impact that it creates for customers, we have over 5,000 customers in 90 countries. We run 400 million of these AI processes. We call them digital workers. 400 million of them, yeah, across virtually every industry. And the impact that we see is anywhere from 30, 50, 100, 200 million to billion plus impact on how that businesses operate uh, on a
Yep.
revenue side, cost side, and the risk side.
Efficiency, all that stuff. You threw out a comment there. There, let's pretend I'm a CEO of a major pharmaceutical, and I go, here, we have spent my industry alone has spent trillions of dollars on IT over the last few decades, and we're
Yeah.
not that much smarter than we used to be. Now you're coming in and selling me a whole new bill of goods. Why should I invest more over and over
Yeah.
and over again?
So the way I speak to the leaders of large companies is, look, you have to think of yourself as an AI first company. And what does it mean to be AI first company?
Yeah,
The way I define it is every person in us, you, me, or everybody else that works in any company have one of the three roles. Either you are working to increase revenue, manage or reduce cost, or manage risk. One or the other way, we are contributing in these three primary ways. Yeah.
yeah,
So, what the value of AI is that it should be able to significantly contribute to all three. Now think for a second. How many technologies could meaningfully transform all three aspects of your job? So, how do you increase revenue? We have customers who have created new $150 million revenue line on loan processing.
right,
We have customers who have reduced cost by 300 million, increased cash flow by 200 million. And risk in regulated industry alone is worth millions of dollars, the reduction and management of risk. So I would talk to the CEO and say, look, here is the art of possible. Here is what you are today. If you operated with an AI first mindset, you could have billion more in revenue, half a billion less in cost. This is your risk profile, and you are so much more agile. Um, is this something? Is this is a new way of operating in the AI age? Is this something we want to do?
yeah. It would be hard to say no if you were taking me out to lunch and then go back and tell my board I said no to that. So of course, okay. And then the second question they're going to ask you, these big dog CEOs, is, me here. Everybody's come in and pitched me this. They're all
Yeah.
walking, they're talking the talk. They're not necessarily walking the walk. So how are you guys actually using this to enhance your own company?
And that's a great question, Dean. So we took this upon ourselves because the belief comes from you practicing it yourself. And we deployed it across all three areas, including customer experience, which is very, very important to us. And we saw dramatic outcome. And it's easy to tell somebody else to transform, but when you are transforming yourself, you have same concerns as your customers.
Right.
People question about risk and say, what if this doesn't work out? Would we get a bad press? And many of these risk and concerns slow you down, and but you have to evaluate them. So, how do you evaluate them carefully? How do you take measured but decisive step? Not taking any risk is not an answer for any leader. How do you manage it?
All right.
And so we had all of those debates internally, right? And within 3 months, I'll take one example. 40% of our customer service became autonomous with no human in the loop. And we offered our customers to talk to us at every point. This is customers themselves choosing not to talk to us and running and say, look, for this, I'm okay with autonomous answer. My question is simple enough.
It must work well because usually you get frustrated in those loops sometimes. So,
But that is what is different about new set of technologies, Dean, that we bring to the table. It is significantly better and different than just a year or two ago.
yeah. And is that what agentic process automation? I mean, is that the secret sauce?
That is what the secret sauce is. The agentic process automation platform that we built is designed for enterprises. And um, let me describe what the most secret sauce part of the agentic process automation is.
Yeah.
It is called a process reasoning engine, Dane. Let me make it simple. The LLMs are as awesome as they are. They're like a general knowledge with vast amount of knowledge. But what you have to do in an enterprise is you take a help of a powerful LLM knowledge, then you look at enterprises policies, then you look at enterprise data regulations, you look at past history of something, you look at 11 other inputs, and then you reason what is the right next steps to take. That is what an enterprise worker does. That's what we all do in our work.
Yeah.
What process reasoning engine does is exactly that. And we think it is so powerful and so essential that today we are the only one to offer it to our knowledge, but eventually everybody has to offer one
Right.
because there is no other way to operate in an enterprise. And because our process reasoning engine is based on 400 million data points and has learned so much about work, just how work happens, how does reasoning happen, it is, in my view, one of the most powerful piece of technology on the planet.
So you've got APA,
In that space,
right? So you've got APA, which you've kind of
the platform.
created, really,
Yeah,
a new category. You've got,
yeah.
process reasoning engine, and is that almost like equivalent to an SLM? It's like, hey, we're not boiling the ocean; we're actually boiling your data with some input from the major, you know, large language models, but it's more focused on the company and the industry and the problems that I'm trying to solve today.
That's correct. It's about narrowing down to the problem where it is very, very useful. So we call it AGI for work. Now, I know people throw term AGI and
So those of you that
it's
aren't
like
tracking with us, this is yet another one. That's artificial general intelligence.
general
Is
intelligence,
that
right?
where we're all going? Or are we? I feel like
I think that for me, that's too vague to mean anything useful, right?
yeah,
But what is useful is you can say, look, does the self-driving car have, does the Waymo self-driving car have enough intelligence to drive itself? Does it have enough general intelligence to do that? Answer is yes, right?
right.
So similarly, the question we are asking ourselves is that the artificial general intelligence for work, which is, can I throw to our platform almost any kind of work? Process mortgage, process claims, process tax, audits, supply chain, goods receipts, vast amount of system work that we do. Can this system smart enough to do the work? The answer today, and as I mentioned last month, we announced it, we reached a milestone where the answer is yes, yes, and yes. And it is evolving now faster at this point than we ever imagined. So that's what that's what our goal is, and that's what the platform offers.
The audience loves to hear about go to market secrets, especially the CEOs that tune in. And, I know you don't want to give away all your secrets, but we really wish you would. So, you do the normal thing. We're really into build, buy, borrow on this program. What are you going to build yourself? What are you going to acquire, buy? What are you going to borrow, partner with? So you have a pretty aggressive partnership strategy. How's that helping you, become more systemic in the market and, becoming this
Yeah.
multi-billion-dollar behemoth?
I think for us, and I know for many leaders, partnership is a way of life, right? And you ask yourself question: what is your core and what is your context?
Yep.
And on your context, you're definitely partnering. But even in your core, on the fringes, you need you. There are so many smart people in the world; they can bring value, and so a partnership is essential. We have large partners on the SI side, almost all the names you can
Yeah,
think of.
all the big dogs, Accenture, Deloitte, Infosys, probably those guys.
That's right. And there are over 1 million people trained in the industry on our platform. So they offer solutions on our platform.
A
And
million,
then
a
we have,
million people, as in like reseller type of people.
no, these are the 1 million people who are trained on our platform on how to develop, deploy, and govern on our platform. So a
More on the
vast
client
number of,
side. Okay.
yeah,
Yep.
and that includes many people at many of the partners. So if any customer looking for resources that is pre-trained on our platform, they can either hire it from the market or go to the partner, and they sometimes have. Some of the partners have 5 floors full of people who just specialize on us.
Yep.
So that's available. And then many software partners, many large companies, ERP and CRM companies who often partner with us to achieve the end outcomes, and some of the new AI companies, because they are solving a very targeted but very small slice of the problem. And when you run 400 million digital workers end to end processes, there are steps that somebody does better, and you give them and say, okay, you do this part while I do 11 other things. So,
Let's switch to, I won't call it policy, but just a little more global. There's a lot of people that are worried that AI is moving too fast. Some people think it's moving too slow. That's actually me. Some people think we should overregulate it, and a lot of competitive issues going on both with countries and companies. My question is really more about society. In some countries, declining populations, maybe declining workforce, maybe declining jobs, and everyone. And AI could actually make that better or worse. So where do you see it all going in the next, almost decade? I was going to say 5 years, but population shifts. It's an interesting to see what the impact of AI is actually going to end up being.
I think the answers are different by countries, as you pointed out. So I was recently talking to a customer in Japan, and they said, "Look, we don't have any concern about unemployment. We have." They completely skipped the topic. Complete. I don't know. There's no point in talking about it. They
Right.
just figure out how to do this. We have less people than we need. And many countries either they know it or they sometimes they don't know it, but most of the countries have that problem. Just people recognizing it.
Yeah, and some of them have very cheap labor, and they like that
Correct.
model.
Correct. But most countries have a declining workforce problem, right? There are like countries you can count on your hand that doesn't have that problem. Every other countries in next 5 to 10 years have a declining workforce problem. Uh, so I think we have to recognize it and start using this technology, because that's the only way we will be able to grow the economy.
I agree.
I think the best data that we have is, and again, this is an evolving area. It tells us that this wave will create 11 million new jobs, and there is a list of possible jobs that it would create to the best of our knowledge. But it will change or transform 9 million jobs. So it is a seismic shift in a skill set. Now, there is not an island with a billion people on it that we don't know about. So my point is, these are all the people we know that are there. So
Right.
ideally, the 9 people's job who is transforming should take up one of the 11 million jobs, and then we still have a 2 million jobs left, right? So,
Right.
so it's fundamentally a transformation problem. Easier said than done, because change is hard for everybody, and so reskilling is essential.
Yeah, and I've noticed, just as an educator too, on the side, college, MBAs, Kellogg, Northwestern. I've noticed the younger gen has an easier time picking up the AI skills than what you just said, where you're kind of retraining, reskilling people.
Uh,
And they just, it's like they grew up with cell phones as well. Where
yeah.
my guess is you and I didn't have one in our pocket until later on. So does it favor the younger generations?
I think it's more about the mindset, right?
Uh,
But and can you change your mindset? Can you have a beginner's mindset? And what younger generation has is they have to have a beginner mindset. There's nothing else. So can we force upon us to have a beginner mindset? Can I share a story about it? Because I took up a challenge on myself, and I said, okay, how could I change? How could I have a beginner mindset? Um, so this is a story about personal growth and personal reboot. You, the world is changing so fast, and I said, what is the area I need to relearn? And your commitment to learning has to be lifelong, especially now. And so, by education, I'm a software engineer, and I knew how to create software. But the way software is created now is very different. So I took it upon a task on me to use vibe coding technologies to create a new application in a completely different way. Now, I haven't coded in a long time. And finding that extra time in my role is not easy. Sometimes you have to wake up Saturday 5 a.m. to find that
That's what
extra,
that's what Sunday mornings are for, that,
undisciplined.
right?
Yeah, but it's about commitment and say I'm going to have a beginner mindset on how does a software get created. And I created an application within few hours with 80,000 using our platform and other vibe coding platforms. And it was remarkable. And for those few moments, I felt like a 20-year-old
Yeah,
because it's about beginner mindset and not color of your hair, right? So
I love that.
it's about how you think.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And we had another CEO on the program, and he said 80% of the code's already out there. So these programmers are
Yeah,
grabbing it, they're augmenting it, they're
yeah.
improving it with automation tools, and there's
But,
companies
but
that are
but
gearing up just to focus on that market.
but didn't hear the mess. The learning for me and for the audience is that what are the areas we can have a beginner's mindset. And I believe leaders and executives of every rank in the industry need to go back to an AI school. I often find that many of us talk about AI with leaders of different industries, and
Yeah,
they nod their head. I don't think we everybody truly understands it. You have to take aside certain hours, go through kind of a short school on it, if you may, and really understand what are the capabilities, what are the risks, which risks are acceptable, because this is a leadership moment. You can't give this problem to a technology person alone. This is a leadership moment to reimagine the world.
it's a total leadership moment. I advise a lot of CEOs and their boards, and they've gone through everything, every change, every shift. It was cyber, then it was this, then it was that, and but they just learn a little bit of it. And when I say CEO and board, all the CX team, they're like, well, yeah, we all use ChatGPT now. I'm like, that's like a crutch. That's the teaser.
That's right.
That's just to get you into the
Right.
party. It's time for so.
Yeah.
It seems like they misunderstand the power of the platforms that companies like yours are building.
It's correct. And if you don't take time to truly understand it, the AI first and AI native companies have a distinct edge over every other company, and they will reimagine how work happens. And it will happen 10 times faster, 1/10 of the cost, and you can compete with it.
Where do you see the company going in the next 5 years?
I think in my journey, I've been CEO for automation for a long time, and I'm the most excited because finally, all series of technologies have caught up to a point where together it can make the dream the reality, which is to fuel the future of work and unleash the human potential. The we believe that most companies today, if not all, in next 3 years can have a vision to have an autonomous enterprise. What that means is 40% of all the work they do today will happen autonomously with no human in the loop. 40% of the work will be assisted by AI and automation, and only 20% will be manual. And that is the destination that every company should be thinking about. Um, uh, and our mission is to take as many companies to that destination point.
Yeah,
And in doing so, the impact we will have indirect impact on the society, because large number of Fortune 500 are our customers. Through them we reach billions of people through their products and services. If we are able to transform how that is created, managed, delivered, and experiences, imagine the impact it has, the opportunity that our team has to create that indirect impact on the society. It's like a great way to live, Dan, when you can create that kind of a value in the society.
exactly. You've been on a long journey since growing up in India. What have been how do you kind of overcome challenges? The next generation is always looking at people like you and saying, how did he make it this far? It's like, and I always tell them, like, you have no idea what we went through. And then that's why we started the show. They're like, well, please tell us.
I think the key is to have a learning mindset, and you're
Yeah,
always
I love
learning.
that.
You are and operating all of the companies or anything in society is a team sport, which means you're combining best talent from everybody. you're challenging each other, you're agreeing hopefully most of the time and disagreeing enough so that you are all learning. Um, One of the thing in addition to this, Dean, one of the things I do is I make it a point to talk to the students, every year, few times, because it keeps you grounded. I'll share a story. I recently went to talk to students in one of the high school, and I was describing, what the future is, and there's all the future of work, and you can talk to a computer and work happens, and the students were not impressed. And I said, maybe I'm not doing my job right. As my role as a CEO is to explain the vision. So I took it a little personally. And so I tried to explain it again, and I'm not effective. And so somebody asked me and said, so how do you do this today? And I described them how work happens today. And they said, but why would you do it that way?
Exactly.
And I said, you're right. See, disruption of one generation is a common sense for the next. And that needs to, every time I go in front of the student, it reminds me that whatever we are doing is a common sense for the next workforce that is entering or is already in the workforce. It's not really disruption. And that keeps you grounded, and it keeps you thinking about, you're serving the next generation while you're serving the current one. So.
Yeah, and disruption is usually affects the ones that are going to be left behind because they didn't have the learning mindset. Hundreds of examples from, everyone loves to pick on
Correct.
Kodak and Netflix. There's hundreds more, thousands more that are left in the wake of some companies that were there and some that were just invented at the time, many of them that you built.
Correct. I think one challenge in the leadership there is that as a leader, sometimes when these disruptions are happening, you fail to take a big step. You will do something. I think most people did something, but it was so small that it neither made an impact nor you learned anything from it. So what did you achieve? You did not fail. That's not really a success.
Right.
You must do something that either there is some chance of some failure, but you did something that mattered. At the least, you learned something so that you could do the next year better. That's a lesson in courage in leadership. I know easier to say than done. We all have been there. We have made our share of mistakes. So, but you keep reminding yourself, courage is important.
Yeah, great advice, Mihir. Thanks for joining us today. Appreciate it.
It was a pleasure to talk to you, Dean. Thank you.
You got it. You've been listening to Mihir Shukla on the Reboot Chronicles. This is Dean Tobias. Please listen, watch, subscribe wherever you get your podcast or at rebootchronicles.com.